Welcome to our webinar. My name is Sean van den Berg. Talking to you from a very cold and chilly and miserable Johannesburg. But a warm welcome to you. The last day of May. Can't believe it, half the year's gone already. So as you can see there by the topic, you work hard for your money, make sure it works hard for you. So the reason for that title was obviously beginning of the month, beginning of May, we had Labor Day. So obviously on a lot of people's minds is the high unemployment rate in South Africa, and obviously the financial pressures and things like it concern many of us. The reason for this presentation is obviously just to highlight the increasingly importance of the optimal use of one's financial resources. So in this webinar, my objective today is just to discuss some effective money management skills that you should have in your arsenal, and obviously helping you to achieve your financial goals. That's number one. And number two is obviously just also understanding how to manage your money more effectively, especially in this volatile markets we're having right now. So if it's to your financial goals is to plan for a successful financial outcome, be it for retirement or paying off debts or whatever the case might be, or investing towards your dream home or holiday. This is the idea here in this presentation, is to get your money to work hard for you. So as I said, my name is Sean van den Berg. I'm an investment specialist here at PSG Wealth. Just going got a frog in my throat here. So yeah, let's get it started, and let's look at the agenda. So very briefly, we're going to be talking about some tips to make your money work harder for you. I have touched on a lot of this before in previous webinars. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I suggest maybe you can look up on our YouTube channel for our past webinars. Things you can do with your money, the 4 things, and I'll be spending some time on that. And then obviously just leveraging the benefits of tax-efficient vehicles like the retirement annuity and the tax-free again. So excuse me, just to get started, I think me having a bit of a frog in my throat. I think if your doctor had to tell you that you have a chronic disease, you probably wouldn't sleep tonight. So that is anxiety, and it's brought on by a lack of confidence or clarity about the future. So health is one of the 2 greatest anxieties in life. Money is the other. So most people obviously know that a basic financial knowledge, as we've discussed in the past few webinars, and actions like regular saving and managing your expenses and prudent use of your debt and living within your means will help you obviously provide financial security. But anxiety and uncertainty, as I mentioned just now with the market volatility, can keep many people from obviously setting goals and making plans. I'm aware of a lot of people moving to the sidelines and have this wait and see attitude, see what happens. So yeah, there's always something happening and there's always uncertainty, but you need to plan for that and take advantage of it. And we're touching on that a bit later. So studies have shown that having a plan for accomplishing your goals makes it more likely that the goal will be reached. So I'll be touching on again just now, having a plan. And I think a lot of people don't have plans, and they swayed by the wind as such. So writing down the desired outcome and then measuring the progress on a periodic basis can reduce money anxiety significantly. So the idea here is to beat money anxiety with goal-based investing. So you might have, with past webinars, we spoke about having financial goals and things like that. Now, before getting into the heavy stuff, let's look at some fun stuff also. So sorry. So delay my presentation here. So in some countries, obviously around the world, the working week ranges from 44 to 44 weeks, with some countries obviously having a much better attitude to a work-life balance. If you had to work 40 years, you start working the age of 20 to the age of 25 to the age of 65, you work just over. Sorry, you work just over 90,000 hours in your lifetime. And so some of us know that obviously Monday is the most common sick day, so especially if you're an employer, and Fridays are the least likely sick day. So why is that? You know, they find that money blues are when you feel down at the start of the week, and obviously money blues also you might be feeling anxious and depressed and having a sense of dread about Mondays. Um, you know, dragging yourself back to your working week after a 2-day, call it a rest period, can feel like a chore, especially if you're feeling unhappy at work. Um, so why is Monday stressful? I think some of you might have heard of these stats before. Mondays are linked to increase in stress, suicides, and even heart attacks. Okay, so the stress and health risks observed on Mondays are usually explained by by weekends, changes in our sleep cycles. I think that is the biggest challenge. That is my challenge always. So disrupted sleep cycles cause hormone changes that results in fatigue, stress, and obviously impaired organ function. On the other hand, on the happy side, Fridays is great because it's a day when we reflect on an awesome week we had. Okay, some positiveness there. It also ushers in the weekend where we don't have to worry about work for the next 2 days. You can also stay up late. And you have to worry about getting up early on Saturday. Some of you that have been around for a longer term, I remember a long time. I remember in the 80s there used to be a band called Loverboy, and they had a song "Everybody's Working for the Weekend." And again, just on highlight the topic or the title of this webinar, you worked hard for your money. Now get your money to work hard for you. So, as I mentioned before, we have touched on this before. The idea is to take control of your finances and make your money work hard for you. So, if you haven't done it, especially those of you that are starting out in a working environment, the idea is to obviously assess your current financial situation. Where are you right now? Where do you want to be regarding your financial goals? Um, you know, so as I said, you worked hard for your money. You want to work hard, and your money work hard for you. Now you want to plan for your holiday. You want to go plan for shopping, but also you want to treat yourself as such also. So it's all part of having a budget, and I don't want to go too much into it. But we have touched on a big. The whole idea is to prioritize your spending and live within your means. Okay, so again, as I say, you know, we've touched on this before. The idea is to pay off high interest debt, especially your credit card. There's good debt and there's bad debt. I looked at it this way: good debt is something that helps you build wealth or improve your financial situation. It helps you obviously increase your net worth. That is what I would say is what we call a good debt. Bad debt is just something that buying something that depreciates rapidly, or just it's something for consumption. So the idea here is that if you're paying 24% on a credit card, if you pay it off, you're basically saving yourself 24%. Okay. If you are battling to make ends meet on your salary, maybe consider starting a side hustle. I've mentioned this before also. The idea is just to create extra income and get that money to work harder for you. Obliterate that debt, eliminate that debt. And then obviously get your money to work hard for you. Historically, the stock market has been the best place to invest from a growth point of view. Over the long term, historically, the returns are much better than putting your money in the banks. If you haven't got the time or the real capital to get going, maybe look at unit trust funds and having exposure to equity funds. We'll be touching on that a bit later. So on the one hand, to get your money to work hard for you is to get for the highest growth. And the other side is obviously to maximize your tax benefits. And that's where we talk about retirement contributions. We're going to do a bit more later. Okay, so there's 4 things you can do with money. But before we can get into that, is I look at it this way: what are the basic functions of money? Money is a liquid asset that's used to facilitate transactions, okay, or value. It's used as a medium of exchange between individuals and entities like companies and obviously businesses. But also as a store of value and a unit of account that can measure the value of goods. So that's the boring textbook explanation, or what I call the technical stuff. So why is money important in life? You know, I look at it this way: money represents power, love, and joy, and much, much more. Yeah, for many people, money is a source of security. It's also a means of achieving their goals and aspirations. It can be used to pay for necessities. You know, things like obviously food and housing. And right now in South Africa, with our load shedding, generators and solar power and inverters and things like that. But also things like healthcare, as well as you know, luxuries and nice fancy sport cars and things like that. But for others, money is just a way to gain power, status, and respect in society. You know, I won't be talking about who's that. I'm mainly highlighting, especially our high level of corruption. So if you look at the 4 things you can do with money, you know, the way I look at it, you can live with it. Your monthly expenses, this is your spending, how you spend your money, basically is your lifestyle. Some part of it would be obviously fun and education and things like that. You can grow it, obviously saving and investing. You can owe it. This is your either paying taxes or paying down debt. You can also give it away. You know, you can give away to causes and charities. So those are the 4 broad buckets. You know, shake it up any which way, chances are it will end up in one of those buckets. So those are the 4 things you can do with money. So, you know, consider someone, I'm just using an example, someone is making or earning 100,000 Rand, and depends on your priorities. You either prioritizing giving, and you're prioritizing paying debt or paying your savings and investments or lifestyle. You know, if taxes, I'm using just very basic numbers here. If taxes are 20% or 20,000 Rand, and your debt service is 20% or 20,000, and your giving is 10% or 10,000 Rand, that leaves you with 50% or 50,000 Rand, and that's you have to spend towards your savings and investments, and also your spending, your necessities. So if your retirement goals are you determine that you need to save 20% or 20,000 Rand, that'll leave you with 30,000. Okay, so you know, the percentages can change. We have spoken about these little buckets before in past webinars, but it all needs to always add up to 100%. So you know, the idea here is to give you a big picture perspective. You know, the more intentional and better we align our priorities with our financial decisions, I mean, it'll be easier. So you can chop and change those percentages, but do it on purpose. You know, I look at it this way. You know, you worked hard for your money. You want to pay yourself first. So I look at it this way: you can either go spend it on lifestyle and go eating out and spend money, but also believe in savings and investments. You want to keep some of that money, and that's where the saving and money comes in. So that's what I mean by pay yourself first. Okay. So 5 best practices of investment. Again, this is the basics. All of us know this stuff. You know, the 5 basic practices of investment, getting your money to work hard for you. You should start investing early. The earlier you start, the more time you've got, the more you can get your money to take advantage of what we call the magic of compounding, or the power of compounding. That snowball effect, where the growth and the interest and the dividends start. If you reinvest it, it starts making more money. And so that's what I mean by that snowball effect. Okay, so start investing regularly, especially if you've got investments like a unit trust fund and you've got a debit order in place. So the idea is to make it, you know, automate that process for yourself. And if you've got a debit order, a monthly debit order, you also take advantage of what we call rand cost averaging. So when the market pulls back and we have lower prices, you're buying more units, and when the market moves up, you're buying less units. But over the long term, your cost would be much lower. So that's a big advantage also. So that's why we talk about investing often and starting early. Take advantage of that rand cost averaging effect as such. Invest enough, and that's also an important thing. I always find it people don't have enough savings when they wake up one day. So you know, and we'll talk about it a bit later. If you can max out your tax contributions to your pension or provident fund or retirement annuities, do it. If you've got those extra savings. So So when it comes to investing, how much is enough? You need to look at your goals. What kind of retirement do you want? Do you want to save towards a home? As I say, what is your investment goals? What is your time horizon to achieve those goals? The shorter the time horizon, the less risk you can take on. The longer your time horizon, the more risk you can take on. So, if your goal is to buy a house in 3 years' time, obviously you have to be a bit more conservative about where you invest your money. But your goal is more retirement, you can take a more higher risk and have more exposure to the equity market. So how much would you need to attain your goal? We have discussed this before in previous webinars also. So what are your current savings to help you in place to meet your goals? So as I say, you need to also look at those kind of things. So it's all, harping on this whole idea about having a plan. As a trader, we talk about having a trading plan. But also I believe as an investor, you need to have a plan. So now you reviewed your risk tolerance. You might be conservative, you might be moderate, you might be aggressive, depending on your goals. You also should help create what I call an investment policy statement or investment policy plan. The whole idea is to ask yourself, have it written down. What is your investment goals and your timelines? What's your risk tolerance, as mentioned now? How will you invest? What's your asset allocation? Are you going to invest into shares, into unit trusts? Are you going to invest? How much are you going to put into cash? How much are you going to put into money markets? Are you going to have listed property, rental properties, etc.? All those kind of things, you put it down in place. But also, when would you rebalance your investment portfolio? You're going to do it yearly, annually, biannually or quarterly, all that kind of thing. So your investment plan, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Just write a few sentences and on each topic, and I'll go into more detail just now, especially when you start talking about risk, especially with the volatility right now. If you have a plan in place, and something happens in the markets, you don't become emotional. You refer to your plan, and you know how to react. And then lastly, obviously, the idea is to build a diversified investment portfolio. So yes, you might have a share portfolio, and you want to diversify between 3 and 5 different sectors. You're not going to put all your money into gold shares, for example. You want to spread your shares out between some good quality large cap stocks and maybe some mid cap stocks and maybe some small cap stocks, the more higher growth stocks. The unit trust portfolio, you want to have a whole range of funds to invest into. But the idea is that you want to diversify into different markets. Some people want to have exposure offshore. People want to have exposure to rand hedges in their portfolio. Now, have a plan to do that, but the idea is to diversify your portfolio, spread your risk. So, some sectors of the market go up, or some assets go up, and some sectors go down. So you want to have this whole balancing act the whole time of your investment portfolio. Okay. So let's go into the next one. This is, I think, is one of the biggest challenge for a lot of people. Is this where we talk about chasing performance? The challenge, simply put, what is chasing performance? Is where investors are chasing returns. I think this is where a lot of people would phone me and ask me, so what is the best fund right now? It's not what I think is the best fund. It depends on your goals and things like that. So the challenge with chasing performance is you're making an investment decision now based on the recent performance of an asset or investment or fund or share. You might have seen the Naspers flying through the roof. Now you want to rush out and go buy some Naspers shares. Where are you buying? You're buying at the top of the cycle. So that's a challenge. The same with a fund. You might have looked at a fund and you see this fund performing well over the last year or last 3 years or last 5 years. The challenge is that you're seeing something where it's flying and you're selling another asset to move into this one now. So you might feel good about doing that, but it comes with a financial cost. So the challenge, as I say, you're either picking a fund or a fund that's performing around well now, but it's at the top of the cycle. So how do you overcome that? So the challenge is, and this the technical term for that is, the market will pull back. Historically, a period of above market performance for a given fund will be followed or eventually will be followed by a period of below market performance. So, you'll find people who are taking their profits. So shares will be coming down, people taking their profits and moving to where shares might become overvalued. So it's same thing with the whole market, same with a fund. So the technical term for this is called it's referred to as reversion to the mean. Okay, so many investors make this mistake of thinking that a fund with a great record over the last 3-5 years is a good fund. So the idea here is to you want to move into something that's, I would say, it's something that's going to be around for longer. Things like a low cost, a low fund manager turnover, and things like that. Those are the things that you want to be looking at. So going into and just randomly, I've just chosen this here, just some PSG funds, just to show you the performances. So yes, you can't really compare apples with apples here because you got a balanced fund and an equity fund, and you got an income fund. But I wanted to highlight to you, there's a tool called Funds A to Z to help you look at performances. So that's number one. So yes, you want to look at performances, but you're not going to put all your weight on that. So you can see how these funds have been performed at number one. And number two, you want to look at things like the balance sheet, the fund's fact sheet. So this is the PSG balance fund, gives you all the information about the fund, but more importantly, you want to focus on things like the fund allocation, the asset allocation. So it, so just excuse me. So again, what is the best fund depends on your investment goals and your time horizon. Well, your goals are different to my goals, but again, you want to look at things like the asset allocation. On this fund, for example, on the highlight, just give my cursor here. If you highlight that section there, it goes on to the next slide. So let me just bring this back again. You see, this PSG balance fund has exposure to domestic equity and offshore, and so that gives you a bit more of an idea what this fund is involved with. Okay, so you want to compare different funds, different balance funds to each other, and see are they more skewed towards offshore or etc. And then also you want to compare the performances, but more importantly, also you want to look at the fund's fees. That's one of the things that over the long term, people say that the costs of is one of the better predictor of fees. So this is again that PSG balance fund. You can see what we call that total expense ratio and the TRC. So again, you can compare, and this, by the way, gives you a 3-year period and over a 1-year period. Okay. Again, going back to that same comparison, all those different funds, you can see all those 3 funds. I chose them just now. They were all E classes, E's. And the reason I chose them because they were clean costs. There's no rebates and things like that. So that's just one way of comparing apples with apples. Also looking at what classes you're looking at. Okay. So you see some of these funds have been around for a few years, and some of them these all basically sold at the same time. But that's another way of looking at the different classes. Some classes have been around for longer, and they're not taking any new investment. You can't go buy into those funds. If you're existing fund holder, you can sell. So those are different ways of looking at the classes. Okay, so looking at fees is very important. Another thing I want to highlight for you, the importance here is, for example, the platform fees. So if you had to choose PSG funds, for example, the platform fee or the admin fee is 0.35% for PSG funds. If you're choosing any other funds that's not non-PSG funds, it's 22 basis points higher, so 0.575% higher. I'm going to do a quick little exercise for you to show you the big difference. So you had someone that's going to invest 40 years, putting 500 Rand a month away. Young guys just started at the age of 25, starting investing with the idea of retiring in 40 years' time at the age of 65. Okay, so I've just randomly chose a growth period of 10%, but this will highlight the fees here, 0.535%. So over that 40-year period, we would have paid 158,000 Rand in fees. Okay, and that would have grown. His investment would have been just over 5 million. Okay, for 500,000, 500 Rand a month. Shows you the magic of compounding and time. So the same scenario now, let's go into a fund, exactly the same thing, 500 Rand a month, but the fee, the ongoing admin fees is 22 basis points higher. You can see there, 100,000 Rand. The difference is 90,000 Rand in fees. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you can see the difference that you in this fund, although you're making the same kind of growth, you've only would have made 4.8 million, nearly $1 million less. Okay, so quite interesting to look at that. So let's look at leveraging sub-tax benefits. So there's two ways to look at it. We can look at tax evasion, which is illegal. Okay, that's not what you want to be doing. So you'll be penalized. This is where you're going to try and use illegal means. You're going to falsify your expenses, or you're going to falsify your deductions and things like that. So you can SARS can penalize you big time. So tax evasion is one way of trying to pay less tax. The other way of looking at it is tax avoidance. And this is where you're legally using the tools available to you. So a canny taxpayer obviously would use the incentives offered by the receiver to pay less tax. So that is basically the way we want to go here. And we talk about, and for a lot of people, the easy way of doing it, there are many other ways, but I want to highlight today is just that retirement annuity contributions. So you basically, you're providing for your retirement, but also at the same time, you're paying less taxes. And you'll look at some examples coming up now. So every month, you saw now, if you're putting 500 Rand a month away over the long term, yes, you're going to build up a nice little egg. And if you're savvy enough to look at your fees and things like that, you'll be saving on your fees. But also, in the meantime, within a retirement annuity, your growth, your capital gains, or dividends, your interest, all that within the fund is tax-free. When it comes to retirement, your retirement from the fund, so first of all, your contributions are tax deductible. And you'll see some examples now. Number two is when you retire, yes, the lump sum up to 500,000 is tax-free, or third is is tax-free. But the other two thirds have to be put into a pension, a monthly pension, or a living annuity that gives you a monthly income. And yes, that might be also that will also be taxable. Okay, so you're upfront, you're getting the tax benefit. At the end, you're paying the tax. Okay, but you also got a vehicle like a tax-free investment plan where the contributions are not tax deductible. Okay, but you're investing in a vehicle that's going to build up funds for you, where when it comes to after 15 years, it's roughly about 15 years, you got a lifetime limit of 500,000. And this point in time is 36,000 a year. So sorry, it's about 12 years. So after 12 years, you can take that kind of money you've built up in there, and before touching your retirement annuity, pay off any debt you might have and things like that. But the point I'm trying to make is that all that growth, all that funds in that tax-free is tax-free. You're not going to pay any tax on that. Okay, so here's an example. Sorry, before I get into this just gives you the current tax rates to highlight for you. As I say, the tax rates now, this is until February 24. But I wanted to highlight for you also, all of us are, we can, what's the word? The current tax system, everyone is entitled, that's the word I was looking for, entitled to earn some income on which we pay no tax. So this is where we talk about the threshold, the tax threshold. So right at the bottom, you can see that if you're 65 years and younger, up to 95,750 Rand a year, that's our tax threshold. So 18% of that, your primary rebate is 17,000. So what does that mean? And by the way, my disclaimer here, remember, this is all for educational purposes. I'm not a tax consultant. I'm not a financial advisor. So this is not for financial advice. This is for education purposes. Just understand that you're not going to be paying any taxes on that first 95,750 Rand. Okay, if you're 65 years and older, obviously that threshold is higher, and that secondary rebate is higher, and that's cumulative. So the primary rebate of 17,000 plus that 9,000 will be added together. Okay, so you'll be paying what, 26? You only be paying tax on 26,000 plus. And then obviously if you're 75 years and older, your tax rebate, your tax threshold is 165,000. So there's your tertiary rebate there is 3,000. So that all cumulative is 29,824. Okay. So we just understand when we talk about this tax rebate. So here's an example of Thomas. He's got a pension fund, and as I said, the government encourages us to save for our future, and obviously ensuring that our take-home pay does not decrease in line with the amount that we save for retirement. And this is where a lot of people have this misunderstanding that we're having a take-home money is less. So if you're a member of a retirement fund like a pension or provident fund, obviously your employer is contributing towards it. But let's say, for example, you decide to increase it by another 5%. It doesn't mean that your take-home pay will necessarily decrease by 5%. So let me explain this in this example here. So yes, Thomas is earning an annual salary of 100,000 rand, sorry, 300,000 rand, earning 25,000 rand a month, and he's contributing 7.5% to his pension fund every year. So it's roughly about 1,875 rand a month. So he doesn't pay he hasn't got any other taxable deductions. So 300,000 and his salary, his pension fund, his taxable income is 277,500. So tax payable on that would have been 49,950 rand. Okay, but now because of that tax rebate we mentioned just now, and this I don't know how to display it here, he's going to be paying less tax. So we take out 17,000 rand off that tax payable. So basically he's only paying 32,000 rand in taxes. So that's the advantage of having a pension or provident fund. You're paying less tax. Imagine if you didn't have it. Okay, you'll be paying more in taxes to the receiver. So his take-home money in this situation is 244,000. So let's say decide that he decides to double his contributions. He increases it to 15%. So in other words, 45,000 rand there. You can see his taxable deduction, his taxable income, 255,000. He would have paid 45,000 rand tax, but because of his tax rebate, he's paying only 28,000 as opposed to 45. Okay. So he's even paying less tax now. He was paying for 32,000 rand here. Yeah, he's paying 28,000. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make here is that yes, he's taking home a bit less. So at the end of the year, he's going to have 52,000 rand less in his bank account, but he's contributed towards his retirement. So he's made bigger contributions, but also he's paid less tax. In this situation, between the two of them, because he's increased his RA contributions to 45,000, he's paying 4,000 rand less in tax. Okay, but he's got a bigger retirement nest egg. Okay, so that's another example, one way of looking at it. Yeah, we've got Nadia. Another example. She's self-employed, so she hasn't obviously got a pension or provident fund. So it's mainly for individuals, retirement annuity. In this situation, she was putting 15,000 rand, 15% of her income away into the retirement annuity, but she hears about maximizing it to 27.5% of her income. Okay, so of a commissions, call it that. So she can put another 12.5%, which is another 37,500. So maximum contributions is 82,500. So brings her taxable income to that. She would have paid 39,000 rand in taxes. Okay, because of that rebate, brings it down to 21. Okay, so that's what you pay. The take-home salary is 195,000. Okay, for the year. The point I'm trying to make again, yes, she's making a bigger contribution, but also understand that at the end of the year, you're going to get a tax refund. And that's the best part, I believe, of being getting involved in taxes, is that we get a little tax refund. So when we complete our tax return, we're going to get some money back. And that's another way of spending our money. Some of us use it to pay off debts. Some of us use it to pay off have some holiday in it. A lot of people take that money and reinvest it back into the retirement annuities again. So how do you calculate your retirement annuity tax relief? So yes, you can contribute up to 27.5%, but what happens? You pay over. It doesn't matter. It goes to future retirement. So when it comes to that retirement and you retire, that'll be tax free. So your nest egg is bigger. That's what it means. But let's say, for example, um, uh, you put 12,000 rand a year away to your retirement annuity, 1,000 rand a month, and your margin tax rate is 25%. You can actually calculate that. So 25%, your 12,000 rand multiplied by your marginal tax rate, you can get roughly a tax refund of 3,000 rand. Okay, so if your margin tax rate is 41% and you're putting 12,000 rand away, you can get about 4,920 rand back. So that just gives you that rule of thumb, just basically how to calculate that. So guys, the main idea I wanted to highlight for you is that get your money to work hard for you by building up a share portfolio or investment portfolio of unit trust funds with asset allocation, but also with fees. Look at your lower fees. That's number one. Number two, use tools like a retirement annuity to get your money to work harder for you. Okay, so I hope that made sense to you. So before we handled, this frog won't go away. Before we handle any questions, just quickly highlight again the points I want to highlight from this. Those 5 investment practices, I think, is very basic. I think most of us know that already. Do not chase performance. I mentioned that. Take the right amount of risk. I'm amazed how many people buy into a money market portfolio for long-term retirement annuity. You already have the advantages of getting a rebate on interest. I don't know why people would do that. So think logically along the lines of your timelines. The longer your timeline, the more risk you can take on. Okay. So yes, there are a lot of benefits towards with a retirement annuity. Obviously, the tax benefits. Number one, your contributions are tax deductible. You can increase that tax-free portion. As I say, anything goes over, doesn't matter, to be part of your retirement one day. Those of you that lack the discipline, financial discipline, I believe that retirement annuity is one of the better vehicles to use because you can't have access to your money until the age of 55. So yes, you can freeze and stop your contributions, and you're not going to be penalized, but it's one way to have some money ready for retirement. And then obviously one of the other benefits is that your retirement is not going to be available for your creditors, specifically for your retirement. So there's some protection involved there. And again, any growth within the fund is tax free. Okay. So only when you withdraw, is there tax involved. So let me look at some of the questions you guys might have. So excuse this nose of mine. Let me see some questions here. Quick word. Okay. Slide's not moving. There's a question here from Chepo. I want to make my money work hard for me in a share portfolio. Okay, Chepo, good question. I find a lot of people open up share trading accounts and they put 1,000 rand in it, and it's not a good idea. The idea of the share portfolio, first of all, I suggest you must be aware of the trading costs. It's not a share portfolio is not for everybody. Number one, because Stephanie, yes, the presentation I'll be sending out the presentation, the webinar recording, as well as the PDF of the presentation. So yeah, you'll be getting it in a few days' time. Okay. So yeah, Chepo, to answer your question, be aware of the trading costs. If you install 1,000 rand, just understand that your costs are going to be very high. You know, we don't have a minimum investment. You know, it's 174 Rand plus VAT for a trade. You must understand your shares go up at least 17% to break even on costs. So actually, let's start with a share portfolio. You need at least 100,000 Rand. You know, put in 5 different shares, 20,000 each. Your cost is about 1%. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, you know, if you haven't got enough funds in the beginning, it's risky, because you can bring all your eggs in one little basket. So it also takes time. It also takes knowledge and things like that. I suggest if you're interested in having a share portfolio, rather go learn it, you know, open up a unit trust account, invest in equities, find out what they're investing into, follow those shares. But it also, in the meantime, gain the knowledge. What is a value investor? Gain the knowledge. What is a growth investor? And then decide on your investment portfolio. Again, comes back to that plan I was talking about just now. But yeah, that's the easiest way to answer your question is to look at those trading costs. Here's a question from Carol. Tax on shares. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if you're a buy and hold investor, your time horizon is long term. When I say long term, it's 3 years plus. Then if you haven't sold a share within 3 years, then capital gains tax applies. So first of all, obviously, again, on a highlight, I'm not a tax consultant. I'm not a tax advisor. I suggest you talk to your tax consultant. Your first 40,000 Rand of profits is exempt from tax. So let's say, for example, you make 100,000 Rand tax, 100,000 Rand profit. That's your first 40,000. You've got taxable amount of 60,000. So it depends on your personal income tax rate. So the maximum you can pay is 45%. So 40%, your inclusion rate is 40% for individuals, 40% or 45%. The maximum you're paying on capital gains tax is 18%. So 18% on that 60,000, you can be paying 10,800 Rand. That gives you what's that? 89,000 Rand, 200 Rand that you'll be taking your investment tax free. Obviously, if it's less than 3 years, then income tax applies. So you have to take a profit added to your income tax. I'd suggest maybe look at single stock futures and CFDs. It's more capital efficient, number one, and number two is more cost efficient and more fun. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Carol. Question from Jan. What if I over contribute to my tax free? Instead of putting 36,000, I'm putting 40,000. Good question, Jan. First of all, I think our system will not allow it. I mean, to flag it. I think so. But the way I understand it, that extra 4,000 Rand you would paid on your tax free. Yeah, unfortunately, SARS will penalize you. I think they're going to penalize you 40% of that 4,000, which at 40% of 4,000, it's 1,600 Rand. So you're going to be fined. Okay, but as I said, I think our system prevents it from going over. Okay. Cool. Grant, I'll have to look at that slide, okay? I'll come back to you. Cool. First of all, thank you. Informative as always. Grant, pleasure. Awesome. I'll fix it up and send it to you. So guys, from my side, I thank you very much for being on this webinar. Let me just close this quickly. Get out of my way. Yeah. So in conclusion, obviously, again, I highlighted retirement annuity and the tax-free. I suggest go click on those links, take you through to what we call the key information document. Understand what you're investing into, first of all. Number two, go use tools like Funds A to Z and use the fund fact sheets to make more informed decisions. And then use the Fund A to Z also as a comparison. Look at 5 different funds, make more informed decisions. Okay. As I said, this webinar will be sent out hopefully by Friday. But from my side, again, any questions you guys have, you're welcome to contact me on the wealth at psg.co.za, or also on the OneStream fund line 0860 000 368. But from my side, thank you very much for being on this webinar. Until next month, bye for now.